The financial markets are in complete chaos. We have the NASDAQ Futures. I just tweeted this out about, 22 minutes ago. NASDAQ Futures just crossed 6% down. I just moved $70,000 over to buy stocks with $20,000 at the open and then $50,000 in reserve in case the market goes even lower throughout the trading day tomorrow. We'll speak about what exact stocks, why I'm buying those specific stocks tomorrow, all those sorts of things. This is pure carnage, and it comes very unexpected, right? I mean, I wasn't expecting to record my fourth video of the day at 11:32 at a Sunday night. Come on, man. I was not planning this, but this is a very historic, I would say, move here. What's going on? By the way, appreciate y'all joining me. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being subscribed to the channel. I've been tweeting so much stuff. I mean, my gosh, I don't think anybody's tweeted this much stuff since Trump was on Twitter back in the day. I mean, it's incredible. It's like every 10 minutes I gotta, there's something. It's ridiculous, but there's so much going on right now. It's insane. Bitcoin is flirting with going under 50,000 now at this point in time. Bitcoin's down about 14 percentage points. Absolutely incredible move. Ethereum's down to 2,200. That's an 18+% move here. Obviously, XRP's down 15%. You see the headline right there. Japan stock market, worst day since, 1987? 1987? You gotta be kidding me. Absolutely incredible. Anything else crypto related, everything pretty much across the board's down between 15 and 20%. Look at this headline. Nikkei sees worst day since 1987 with Japan stocks in bear market. South Korea halts trading. Incredible. A 12.4% loss for the Nikkei. It was the worst day for the index since Black Monday of 1987. At this level, the Nikkei has erased all its gains for the year, moving into the loss portion year to date, right? People wonder, could that happen with the NASDAQ? Could that happen with the S&P 500? Absolutely it could. I would not guarantee that's going to happen. I would not necessarily bet that that's going to happen, but could it happen? Yeah. You might think, we're set for the year. No, markets can easily lose their gains, right? And then, what's incredible is you could lose all those gains, and then you could get a portion of those gains, if not all those gains, back by the end of the year. Like in a very volatile market, which we're now entering a very volatile market. Oh yeah. Wait to see tomorrow. I want everybody to keep an eye on this tomorrow. Specifically, VIX, the VIX. Everybody keep an eye on the VIX tomorrow. You want to see a blast higher? Wait to see the VIX tomorrow. The VIX has already been skyrocketing before this situation that's about to happen. But wait to see the VIX tomorrow. Oh, that's going to be fun. The yen also strengthened to its highest level against the dollar since January. That's a whole unwinding of the carry trade that a lot of people have been doing, which caused a whole other mess. Then you have potential margin calls happening right now simultaneously. You have a move out of risk on assets, right? I mean, it's just like domino after domino after domino in regards to this. And the crypto market obviously is getting hit the hardest, right? I mean, but risk assets in general are getting hit the hardest. And I hope everybody understands, specifically in regards to crypto, it is a lot of fun in the bull markets, and it can be very explosive. It's like a call. I always tell you guys for years now, Bitcoin's a call option on the NASDAQ, right? And this is exactly what we're seeing. NASDAQ's down 5%, right? 5%, 6%. Look at Bitcoin's loss. Bitcoin's loss is like 14, 15%. That's exactly what you would see usually from a call option, because if your stock was down, let's say 5% in trading day, your call option on that stock probably is down like 15% in that day, right? And so that's the way, Bitcoin ultimately acts, and that's exactly what we're seeing play out. I mean, look at that. That's a 1,000-point move down for the NASDAQ. Incredible. Because you got to understand, the NASDAQ was around 21,000. It was around 21,000 just about 4 weeks ago. So in this situation now, we have a situation where roughly the NASDAQ's lost about 3,500 points. Very quickly, right? Very quickly. Oil's moving down. I mean, to be honest, everything should be down tomorrow. Just the big question is, how much will things be down, right? Now, I don't believe CNBC has pre-market trading out yet. No, they don't on CNBC. Now, Robinhood has some pre-market trading, and some of the stock prices we've seen on that are pretty incredible in terms of how much stocks are going down across the board. The Dow's holding up decent right now, only down 500 points. I mean, yeah, in this market, down 500, you'll take it. Like literally with what's going on right now, when you see Bitcoin down 14%, we see Ethereum down like 20%, when the NASDAQ's down 5% plus, you'll take a Dow down 500 points any day of the week. It's like, oh, that's not that bad. S&P 500 is down over 3%, but remember the weighting of the S&P 500 has gone super heavy to those tech stocks. So the risk is when the tech stocks get heavy, when the NASDAQ gets heavy, it affects S&P 500 in a very substantial way. Very substantial way. Then you have the oil and gas sector, which obviously has become a much smaller portion of the S&P 500 weighting now at this point in time, right? But keep in mind, if oil goes down, that's going to push those oil and gas stocks down as well, right? Now the question is, something I really wonder out there, right? And we'll get to my stocks I'm buying, why I'm buying those stocks and those sorts of things. My big question is, where's all the money going, right? Where's all the money going? I think that's a fair question, because you look out there, right, and you see obviously massive amounts of selling. Could some of that be like margin call situation, like forced selling? Sure. But what about the other sellers? What's their plans there, right? And why is there such a rush to get out? That's another curious thing. Like, why such an insane rush now at this point in time? So, these are kind of like things you got to run through. The recession risk, all of a sudden everybody's talking about the recession risk. Did anything massively change with the global economy in the past week or two? No. If the global economy was bad 2 weeks ago, it's still bad today. If it was good 2 weeks ago, it's still good today. Like the global economy doesn't magically change in a matter of a few days. We have all types of geopolitical tensions, which is nothing new. That's been ongoing, right? You could talk about maybe this is an escalation here, sure, but that's been ongoing, right? So the carry trade situation, that's been arguably something that's been slowly falling apart here for a little bit. So, I mean, these are all just like things that, it's not like anything that's really happening here is necessarily like, this is a brand new development. It's not like Rona, when Rona came out of nowhere, right? And everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, shut down the global economy. This wasn't like 2022 where it was like, oh my gosh, the Fed went from 0% rates to now they're about to start hiking rates like crazy. None of that, right? And so this is a panic market right now. We're in a panic market. It's very clear in the price action, right? I mean, you don't get this sort of sell-off. So this happened here, right? I said I moved $70,000 over to potentially buy tomorrow. So I'm buying $20,000 at the open. I already got those orders in. We'll run through those stocks right now, and that's it. The other $50,000 I'm keeping around in case it gets worse through the trading day. By the way, what a day I picked to do a Twitch live stream tomorrow. I'm going to be doing my Twitch live stream tomorrow. I'll put that as pinned comment if you want to follow me on Twitch. I will be live streaming tomorrow for the Palantir earnings, but I'll probably start the live stream way early because there's going to be craziness in the market. So anyways, I'll put that as pinned comment if you want to follow me on Twitch for tomorrow. I said I'm holding the other $50,000 in case we open bad and it gets worse through the trading day. The other thing I'll put as the other pinned comment today on this video is I'll put my X as well in case you use Twitter and you want to follow me on there. So yeah, now then I had this one, the Nikkei, now down over 10%. The crazy thing is I posted that, right? It was down over 10%. I'm like, oh, this is an epic number. Like, I'm going to screenshot this and post this, right? I'm like, oh, that's a crazy number, 10%. Like, literally not even 10 minutes later, it was down 12%. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's happening quick. It's happening quick, right? So in terms of stocks that I'm buying at the open tomorrow. So the first one up here is Shopify, these 8 stocks that I have orders in for tomorrow, right? Shopify, whenever you're going through a market like this, you got to think in terms of what companies have great business models, are profitable, have, cost levers in regards to their business, and have a really good balance sheet and a really good management team. And if I think about Shopify, it checks all those boxes, right? And in this sort of market, you got to be extra careful because you don't really know what the next move is. And so Shopify, I feel very comfortable buying that stock tomorrow. It's probably going to be down huge at the open. Is it 47? Is it 48? Is it 49? Is it 50? I don't know. I mean, unless the Fed comes out before the market opens tomorrow and announces that they're going to save the market or something, like, it's probably going to be a big downward day for a stock like Shop, right? It's going to be in the chop shop. Palantir, I don't usually like to buy stocks into earnings, but I got to assume that stock's going to be down pretty big tomorrow, right at the open. And I would rather grab some shares in the morning, right? Next one's up here. Third stock is SoFi. SoFi, probably down big tomorrow. Is it at $6? Is it at $6.20? I think that's the big question. Is it at $6.40? The bottom line is SoFi's already a steal deal before the action in the morning. It's going to become even more of a steal deal. It's obviously more of a risky play. It is in the financial sector. It is a bank at the end of the day, right? So it does come with risk. And so SoFi has to remain a small position for me, like a 1 to 2% position, just because I don't like to have a big position be, I'm fine with having Palantir be a big position for me, or even Shopify, or obviously Meta's. I got $800,000 plus in Meta, any of those sorts of stocks, because I'm not worried about them going under, right? With banks, you never know, right? Now, am I that worried about SoFi going under? No, but it's still a bank, and you still never know, right? So it's a little scary. Cheesecake, fourth one up here. You might say, how do I feel comfortable in cake, being that the consumer's in such a bad spot, being that unemployment's going up, and all these sorts of things? None of that's new. Cheesecake just came out with one of their best quarters, if not their best quarter they've ever reported, just to be quite frank. Revenues looked in great shape. New high for revenue, $904 million, if I recall, was the number. They brought in $52 million in net income. And that's with, all this stuff we're hearing is nothing new. The consumer's done. They have no money. Credit cards are maxed out. All these sorts of things, right? Consumer sentiment's so horrible. And yet, Cheesecake puts up their numbers, man. They put up their numbers. They execute on a high level. And at the end of the day, people got to eat. And, they might pull back on this or that, but they're still going to go get their cheesecake. You only live once, right? Might as well go get that cake. So fifth one up here, winning resorts. No doubt they're hurt by recessionary situations. They could be hurt by geopolitical problems, all that stuff, right? But Wynn's one of those companies that at the end of the day, people like to travel. They want to travel. And Wynn really caters to the top 10% of income earners, right? The top 10% of the wealthy. And so in a recession scenario, Wynn gets hit, right? Everybody gets hit. But at the end of the day, rich people still got a lot of money. Like, rich people still going to have a lot of money. Like, okay, let's say you lose 30% of your value. And let's say you're worth $100 million. Okay. You're still worth $70 million. You still got, $50,000, $100,000 you can go drop on a fun vacation at Wynn Resorts, right? So that's kind of the way I think about that. Nike's sixth stock up here. Nike's already a steal deal, obviously. It should be down in the morning. Like, give me some Nike shares. Estee Lauder, this stock's already been obliterated. Now, I've thought, and I've been talking about this on the main channel, I believe these consumer-related stocks that have been getting nailed, the Nikes, Estee Lauders, I said I believe those stocks are within, I would say 3 to 5 months of bottoming. So at some point in this next 3 to 5 months, they're going to bottom it, in my personal opinion, regardless of kind of what happens with the stock market, the economy, unemployment rate, any of that. I believe those stocks are bottoming. I said that I think they're probably going to bottom in Q4 of this year, very similar to what we saw in tech stocks. I said they probably got one last leg lower to go. I'll buy that dip all the way down, and then we'll rock and roll after that. That's what I think is going to play out here. So these positions like a Nike or even a Estee Lauder that I just started that position, literally what did I start that just last week? Those are positions I'm going to likely want to continue to add to over this next 3 to 5 months as aggressively as I possibly can. Amazon's another one I'll be buying in the morning. That stock was down big on Friday. It's weakened considerably. At the end of the day, the world runs on AWS. We know that. The e-commerce side of the business is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And they can weather any thunderstorms, right? They do it all the time. And so Amazon's just another one that's an easy buy for me. Great balance sheet of the company. They remain very disciplined with their costs of their business. They run that e-commerce business so low margin that throw whatever at them and they can get through it. And the same could not be said for most retailers out there. Most retailers are in a lot of trouble when their margins get hit in any considerable way. So they're set up in a really good position. So let's see kind of some of the comments here. Thoughts on selling anything or just hold by? Well, obviously, you know what I'm doing. Like, I'll be buying tomorrow, right? Palantir. So we said, would also look for opportunities in utility or home building sector. Too many opportunities tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, home building has been red hot. We all know that, right? The numbers have been really good out of the home builders. But, if this market, let's say this wasn't actually just a short-term drop for the market. Let's say the stock market really just kind of downtrends, nasty style, for the next 3 to 6 months. They will roll over to the housing market. And you could be looking at a situation where the Fed really starts to lower rates. That helps mortgage rates. But if the stock market's really damaged and the economy is really damaged and people look at unemployment, I mean, that could end up starting to hit the housing sector in a very negative way for the home builders. You could see a lot more used inventory go out there. So I'm not 100% convinced it's necessarily the time to bet against the home builders, but I think you're playing with fire trying to bet on the home builders right now. That's just my 2 cents. I don't know. We'll see what happens, obviously, there. So, any thoughts on Bitcoin? Not my dealio, right? Garrett says buying TLT 20-year bonds are undervalued and a great hedge at the moment. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people have been playing TLT. So we said, why no Tesla? I already have so much Tesla. I got a lot of hundreds of thousands of dollars in Tesla. I feel pretty good. So, but if Tesla goes under 200 tomorrow into the 100 range, it is a buy in my personal opinion. So I'll say that. I'll say that, right? This was NASDAQ. You know what's crazy is look at this. This was posted an hour ago. NASDAQ Futures then down 3%, right? And then went to 6% like that. That's how fast it happens. I mean, incredible. Absolutely incredible. Look at this. This is when the Nikkei was only down 7% and then it ended up being down, 12%? Crazy. I mean, incredible, right? I said word on the street is, from what I'm hearing out there, several Wall Street investment banks are going to hold midnight meetings tonight. Closed door meetings between top 15 and 20 individuals at banks, specifically on the trading and risk side. Some are talking about Black Monday. I'm not sure. What the stock market holds for tomorrow. The Bank of Japan and the Japanese yen situation will be talked about a lot in the short term, and absolutely they will. So, yeah. And at that time, Bitcoin was 54,000 at that time, and Ethereum was, I think, 2,400. And man, what a deterioration since then, right? Ooh, it looks like pre-market's deteriorating more here as well. If we look at crypto now, 51K on Bitcoin, Ethereum's 2,200. So both deteriorated massively. And this move in Ethereum's pretty dramatic here. We go back to May 26. So not that long ago, a little over 2 months ago. I mean, gosh, Ethereum 3,800, 3,800 down to 2,200. That happens quick, right? I mean, really quick. I mean, look at this here. You're 3,850, and that was exactly 2 months ago, right? June 4th, that's exactly 2 months ago. And from 3,800, and you could say a 50% drop would be going from 3,800 to 1,900, right? So we're not at a 50% drop, but we're pushing 40% plus? Wow. It happens really, really quick, doesn't it, guys? I mean, really quick. When the dominoes start falling, man, do they start falling quick. Now, this was when Trump was giving the speech at the Bitcoin conference thing, right? And everybody was so hyped going into that. Bitcoin 68,000 for that. And then that ended up being kind of like a nothing burger event there. And then since then, it's just deteriorated massively from 68,000 down to 51,000. And that's a complete free fall, right? It's not like a normal move down where it's kind of like somewhat orderly down, right? This is just like straight off a cliff. Like there's no stoppage of the move down there as of right now, right? At some point it's going to bottom. It's just like, is it bottoming today at 50,000? Is it bottoming next week at 40,000 or 30? Like we don't know. But as of right now, that's what you call a straight free fall crash. Like that's straight, like this is like orderly, like we're stair stepping down. This is like we fell off the cliff. Like it was Grand Canyon, whoop, right over. Like whoa. What a move, man. What a move. But that also is a lot of stocks, is it not? Is it not like a lot of stocks we're seeing in this market? It's a lot of stocks we're seeing in this market. I mean, incredible. UBS says, going into Japan now is like catching a falling knife. Warren's stock sell-off will continue. Yeah, the thing is, like, I don't see a reason to go buy Japanese stocks. That's a problem. U.S. stocks, I see a reason to go buy U.S. stocks. If you send, the NASDAQ down 12% tomorrow, which is likely not happening, but let's say that happened. 12% tomorrow, just like the Nikkei. There's still deals all over the place, like buy. The Nikkei went down 12%. Do I see a reason to go buy the Nikkei? No, I don't. Do I see a reason to go buy Japanese stocks tomorrow? I don't. That's the difference. When you got the top tier companies, Palantir's not a Japanese company, otherwise I'd be willing to buy it, right? Neither is Amazon, neither is Shopify. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just not attractive. It's not an attractive buy. If I'm going to look for opportunities, I'm going to look for opportunities elsewhere. So, that's a little food for thought in regards to that. Will Bitcoin, what a post, right? Will Bitcoin reach 1 million milestone in 2025? I mean, you should have known the signs were out there for Bitcoin to come crumbling down, because I've seen so many YouTube thumbnails and so many like Twitter posts recently about Bitcoin's going to 1 million, Bitcoin's going to 10 million. I'm like, oh my gosh. Once everybody is starting to post all that crap on YouTube, in Twitter, on X, like it's the beginning of the end. Like, like the downfall is coming when everybody's talking about Bitcoin to 1 million and 10 million. And remember that in future cycles as well. Like, when everybody goes on that train, like, it is done. So, like, we're coming crumbling down, right? And then once you come crumbling down, then no one talks about it for a while, and then it starts actually moving up again, and then everybody's real quiet. And then after it's made like an insane move, then everybody comes out with their crazy price targets again. Oh, it's going to 1 million, 10 million, all that stuff, right? It's the same cycle again and again. So Dow's moved a little bit further down here, now down 400 points there, and NASDAQ's still down 5% plus. It's going to be an interesting one tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting one. Where's Wall Street want to take it tomorrow? That's my big question. Does Wall Street want to get out there? Do they want to buy the dip tomorrow? Do they want to buy the dip tomorrow? Or do they want to say, you know what? Let it burn. Let it crash. What's the argument to be made? Okay, if they were chasing the market last couple months and they let it burn, it's going to look really bad for them. The returns are going to look really rough. Really, really rough. If they were chasing this rally and they were buying a lot of these tech stocks over the past couple months, trying to play catch up to the market because they underperformed the first 6 months, because we know there was a lot of fund managers, like I think most fund managers, were significantly underperforming the market for that first 6 months of the year, right? From January to June. So therefore, you had to start playing catch up. So I think probably a lot of these folks were playing catch up and buying these stocks probably late June into July, right? In NVIDIA's and all the other tech stocks out there, and saying, you know what, we got to play catch up here. We got to get back to the market. If now they let the stock market burn, it's going to look so bad on them. It's going to look so bad on them. It's going to be brutal. But on the flip side, if they do let it burn, right? If big money lets this market burn down, they're going to have a lot of leverage over the Fed to start lowering rates ASAP and to do it aggressively. Because the Fed is very in like this kind of nonchalant, like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it type stance. That's the way I would put it right now. We'll get to it when we get to it. Yeah, maybe September, we'll maybe start cutting and 25 basis point, blah, blah, blah. Like, real cool about it, right? And I think the market's very scared about Fed lags. And you got to understand, the market gets a lot more scared of recession than they do inflation. Because inflation, at the end of the day, it makes everything, all prices pretty much go up. It's inflation. Prices go up, right? Which at the end of the day does help these companies' revenues and their bottom lines long term, right? It can be fluctuations in the short term, but it does help it. I mean, at the end of the day, if Procter & Gamble can charge another 10% higher for toilet paper, great for them, right? And especially if their cost didn't quite go up 10%, maybe their cost went up 7%. Oh boy, now we got even extra margin. It doesn't look like it at first, but then over a couple year span, all of a sudden you see that extra margin coming. You're like, where did this extra margin come in, right? And it's like a little magic trick that happened that no one quite realized. So then they have more leverage for the market to go down, freak the Fed out, because the Fed will be looking at this market and they will freak out, right? And then the Fed will be like, okay, we'll have to cut. Now, when the Fed starts cutting, also risky. Because usually when the Fed starts cutting, that means you're either in recession at that time or you're about to go into a big recession, right? And so then if they do a free cut, let's say all of a sudden they're like, emergency meeting, we're cutting in August. Whew. Some people might look at that and be like, okay, good, they're starting to cut. They're taking this serious. But that would freak a lot of people out. If all of a sudden they cut in August, right? Everybody's going to say, what does the Fed know? Like, oh, wow, things got to really be going south for the Fed to all of a sudden cut. And then if they cut, let's say the emergency cut in August. It's like an emergency meeting, we're canceling our vacations, we're coming back, we're going to cut rates in August. Okay, they cut rates in August. How much do you cut then? Only 25 basis points? That would be weird, right? you do an emergency meeting, you cancel your vacations, like, oh, we're going to do an emergency cut in August, and then you only do 25 basis points. I don't know about that. It almost seems like then you got to come in with a big cut, 50 basis points, 75 basis points, 100 basis points, right, a full percentage point. So that sticks them in a weird situation where maybe they're stuck with August, right? Or excuse me, stuck with staying with the September cut. Well, if they stay with the September cut, this market has more leverage to bleed over August and into September, into that first cut, right? Then the Fed cuts, maybe you get a relief rally, something like that at that point in time. And then the big question is, okay, what happens with the economy after that, right? So we're in an interesting spot. We're in an interesting spot. And the other thing is, I'll just be honest with you guys. If you look at kind of the put activity, Wall Street hasn't really hedged up enough really for this kind of market downturn potentially we're in or going in or whatever you want to call this, correction, crash. I don't know. We'll see where it all shakes out at. But they're not really properly hedged, just to be quite frank. And so I don't know what to make of that, because whenever you go through one of these volatility cycles, Wall Street starts to usually load up on put options. Now, when you see Wall Street usually load the boat on put options, you're actually closer to the end of the crash. It doesn't mean it's ending that day, but you're getting closer there. So let's assume Wall Street gets more and more freaked out and they load up on puts for the next 4 or 5 weeks. That might actually make me feel more comfortable about September, October, and into the end of the year, because then I'll look at something like that and I'll be like, okay, they're loading up on their puts. Now the market's going to go the other way. They're going to lose their money on the put side. It usually actually happens that way. So we'll see where all this shakes out, guys. But I'm making those buys tomorrow, and we'll see. My bottom line is I'm not going all in the market tomorrow, but I will be buying this dip, right? It's just a question of how big am I buying the dip. I'm buying 20,000. The question is, do I buy 50,000? Another 50,000 on top. Do I buy $70,000 worth tomorrow? Do I buy 20,000 and another 20,000, 40,000? That's a big question, right? We'll see. We'll see where it all shakes out. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. Once again, if you want to join me for my Twitch live stream tomorrow, I'll put that as a pinned comment. And if you want to follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, I'll put that down there as well. I'm obviously a tweet beast right now, but after I release this video, I'm going to bed because I'm sleepy and I got to wake up tomorrow for all this craziness. Okay, much love and peace.